Julie Ruelle. Love talking to Julie. What's the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionalist? Do you know? Start the conversation off. Well, she's into rollerblading. She's in the Miami area. She's from New York and Michigan and used to rollerblade there. We started the conversation there, but go right into she's a dietitian and go right into some of these ultra processed versus processed food. Do you know the difference between the two, by the way? Processed food and ultra processed food. We go into the many areas. I've become, an ingredients reader, much to the annoyment. That's not a word, but I annoy many people with that. But I want to know what I'm buying. But we talk about some common misconceptions, oils, flour, different areas of what to look for and what not to look for, folic acid, and generally great trends on what to eat, how you should view nutrition. And if you're looking to work with a dietitian, what should you look for? But she's got great insight. Very, very charismatic, very friendly. Really like talking with Julie. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because I was working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How'd I lose the weight? Just one word, discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission? How do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Best at it, Julie Ruelle. Thank you so much for your time. Well, how'd you get into rollerblading?
I have been doing it since the 90s. So
Whoa.
I just never stopped, actually. I love rollerblading. I think it's such a good way to see more. Like I can't run for 15 miles, but I can rollerblade for 15 miles. So I can go further and see more things. And I think it's fun. Create your own breeze. So living down here in Florida, you get a little bit of wind when you rollerblade.
Yes, you're in the Miami area, I believe. Yeah,
I am, yes.
And it's inline. What does rollerblade look like?
Inline skating.
Is it the same thing?
Yeah, same thing. Rollerblade's a brand, but just a lot of people say rollerblading. Kind of like Kleenex and
In this fast-paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com, your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSPs subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pinz and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs, crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza-MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow. I say. And you just do it for recreation. There's no real competitive rollerblading, is there?
There's an inline skating marathon and like 100-miler and things like that.
Whoa.
I've skated 26 miles, but I've never done it as a competition. I've wanted to, but I've had a few knee injuries lately, so it's kind of stood in my way, but maybe someday.
There's not a lot of running. There's so much pounding on your joints and hips and everything.
Yeah.
Rollerblading seems to be not as bad, right?
It's not as bad. Yeah, it's not as bad.
You're bending your knees most of the time. And then the problem would be, of course, well, I assume you're not doing it are you doing it on sidewalks? I mean, traffic, do you ever have to encounter?
In New York, when I lived in New York City, I did it in Central Park. So no traffic there, much safer. When I lived in Michigan, I did it in like parks, and we had these things called metro parks with like miles and miles of paved trail. Florida is a little more tricky. There's not as many easy places to go do it here. There's a boardwalk on the beach, but it's really bumpy.
Right.
It's not wood, but it's very bumpy.
Still very
Like
bumpy.
they use a patterned concrete, so it's not ideal. But there are some places to go around here that is easy. You want
And
to get into it?
is there a whole, it sounds fun. Is there a whole community? Do you meet up with?
There actually is, especially down here in South Florida. It's a pretty big thing here.
It does sound fun. And, in Central Park now, you got to watch out for the coyotes, right? Isn't there? Have you heard about this?
Yeah, there were always coyotes, like rogue, mangy coyotes that appeared from time to time in Central Park. I think they come out mainly at night.
At night, right? Yeah, they're nocturnal.
Yeah.
There's two that have become really. They actually call them Romeo and Juliet. There's a name for them now and everything, and there's like sightings and.
I heard about them. I haven't met them.
Pretty cool, Julie. What's the difference between ultra processed and processed foods?
That's a great question, and I hope you ask me again while we're talking on the podcast because I do love to give that distinction.
We are on the podcast.
Oh, we've already started?
Yes.
Amazing. I thought we were just chatting amongst new friends. So great. I'd love to tell you that difference. So processed foods, processing can actually be beneficial. So processing can be things like milling wheat into flour so that we can make 100% whole grain products out of it. It can be turning yogurt, or it can be turning milk into yogurt. There's certainly reasons for processing. Freezing vegetables at the peak of their freshness so that we can have vegetables year round when otherwise in many climates we could not. So absolutely there's reasons for processing. Ultra processing, on the other hand, maybe things that you wouldn't have in your home kitchen. Maybe your grandparents wouldn't even recognize them as food. They're often very inexpensive. They're added to change the color, the texture, the taste, the shelf life, to make it shiny. All things we don't really need. They're not adding any nutritional value. They are just extending shelf life, and they're really not very good for us at all. So processing can be okay. Ultra processing, generally not ideal. And we should all be aware of what they are and try to avoid them when we can. A really new study that just came out by the CDC shows that 55% of the American diet is ultra processed. So those things like food dyes, colorings, additives. And in the supermarkets, 73% of foods are ultra processed. So it's can be very challenging to find food that doesn't have any of those ultra processed ingredients in them. And there's a lot of reason that it matters. I mean, one also interesting statistic there is that when consumers were polled, only 19% of them said they regularly consume ultra processed foods. So there's also a really big disconnect between what we think an ultra processed food is, maybe what we think we're eating versus what we're actually eating. So there's really a lot of room for education in this space, and it's something that I've become really very passionate about.
Turning San Marzano tomatoes into marinara.
Yeah,
that's process.
That's processing. But if we add things like dyes, citric acid maybe is okay, maybe it's not. It's that's a little bit of a gray area. That's almost always in canned tomatoes.
Yes.
But tomatoes themselves, they're red, they're flavorful, they're delicious. If we just jar them, that's processing. No issues with that. If we're adding sugar, natural flavoring, citric acid, any of the other preservatives, then we're getting into ultra processed territory. That's a great example. I love that.
What's xanthan gum? It's everywhere. I see it, and I'm not putting it in my body if I can avoid it. What is it?
I think it's a great idea not to put that in your body. It's used as like a stabilizer, preservative, thickener. We don't really need that.
Yeah, I've annoyingly to some become an ingredient reader. I mean, it's not difficult. It's not difficult, Julie, right? I mean, just look at the ingredients. If you don't know what it is, a citric acid, they sneak that everywhere.
Everywhere.
That one pisses me off. Yeah.
That one's everywhere. There's a really popular drink that I would say is very healthy. It's just carbonated water and fruit juice. And some of the flavors have citric acid and some do not. And I'm
Mm,
so annoying about this that I won't buy that one's with citric
right.
acid.
Right. Of course not. And when you see even the term natural flavors,
Mm-hmm.
there's
No,
nothing natural about that at all.
there's not. If it was natural, they would put what it was. So,
Right.
like that drink I'm mentioning, like they might use lemon juice or lime juice or grapefruit juice. They don't say natural flavors, they say what it actually is because they're using a real thing. There's other brands of bubbly waters that use
Mm,
natural flavors that aren't so natural. They're
yeah.
fragrances, chemicals, they're designed in a lab to make you think you're drinking something that tastes like a grapefruit or a tropical punch or whatever
Mm,
it is they're talking about. And, these aren't even the worst of the offenders. There's so many other
yeah.
products, like things marketed towards children, which is really something that I'm also passionate about, is improving the health of the little ones. A lot of products marketed towards them are filled with these dyes,
Yeah.
colorings, additives, sugars, breakfast cereals, cookies, crackers. They're just highly processed grains. And then on top of that, they're dyed all the different colors with all
Mm,
the different food dyes. I think it certainly has been in the news more lately, but there is, more of a push to potentially regulate some of those dyes that are going in foods, many of those foods geared towards children. And, I think it's a good thing for us to at least be looking into it. I'm all for giving people education and letting them make the choices that's right for them. Like, people might not know that California banned 6 synthetic dyes from being in any school foods. And
awesome.
that's because there's been studies that link them to behavioral issues, health issues. So now the California kids aren't getting those dyes, well, in a year or so when it finally goes
Mm,
into
mm,
law. But, the rest of the country, those blue number 1 and blue number 2, those kind of
mm.
dyes can still be in many, many products.
Julie, talk to me about flour.
Flour. What would you like to know about flour?
Unrefined, bleached. I see these things that just it annoys me.
So, yes, we can talk about flour. So, I'm not inherently anti grain by any means, but the way that we process them certainly is not the healthiest. So, there's 3 main parts to a grain: the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. For a whole grain, you get all 3 parts of that. And the nutrition is all in the bran and the germ. That's where the fiber, the protein, the nutrients are all in there. For some reason, years and years ago, they decided to refine grains and take out the bran and the germ and use nothing but that starchy endosperm um, to make all the white breads and
Mm,
everything made out of white breads. And that's so actually lacking in nutrition that the
mm.
government mandated they then add back in like a multivitamin type powder or B vitamin powder. So that's what enriched is. So if you
Yeah,
see enriched flour on a
all the
product,
time. Yeah,
the word enriched sounds like a good thing, right?
it
Well, we're
does.
enriching it. But actually, it's because we removed everything that was in there naturally that was good and so nutritionally devoid, we had to put some vitamins back in there, which aren't even in the right form that our bodies can really easily digest and use because they're not naturally there. Really not ideal. So that's a good tip to everybody out there. When you're looking for grain products, you want to see 100% whole wheat or whole, whatever the grain is,
Durham.
um,
Yeah.
and not enriched grains. And if it just says wheat, that doesn't mean whole wheat. So you want to
Right.
see the words 100% whole. Those are the key words.
Yeah, I remember talking. I got a Costco problem, Julie. But so I was talking to one of the bakers there, and I said, "What's the deal? Everything's enriched here." And he goes, "Yeah, I know, I know. You people stop buying it, and then we'll eventually move over to one. But you have to talk. You have to speak with your person." I said, "Well, I won't get anything that's enriched, you know." And so, we have more power than we think. The consumer.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And, going back to that stat about 70% of the products in the supermarkets are ultra
Mm,
processed. If people are buying them, that's what's going to be there.
that's right.
So
That's
like you
right.
said, we need to become more educated about why these ultra processed foods aren't ideal for us, and they are linked to over 32 different diseases.
Yeah.
Obviously obesity, but also diabetes. For every 10% increase in ultra processed food, the risk of type 2 diabetes increases by 17%.
Mm,
So it's not just that they're not good for us in a vague way. They're really not good for us in very specific ways.
mm. Talking about pulling everything out and adding stuff back in, oils.
Hmm.
What should we use? What should we consume?
So again, it's all about that refining process.
Yeah.
So if we're using like 100% extra virgin, first pressed, single sourced olive oil, that's going to be the gold standard, in my opinion. Um, we could, you know, Coconut oil. If you look at organic coconut oil versus regular coconut oil, it's not even the same product. It
Wow.
does, refined coconut oil has no coconut smell. It's a completely different texture. So that's one where you can really see a huge difference. And they're often sold in clear jars at the supermarket. So you could go there and really do a side by side comparison and just see how different that product
Mm,
is.
mm.
And then kind of envision that with any oil that you're purchasing. So is avocado oil healthy? Inherently, it's a good choice, but you still want to look for that unrefined, more natural version of it, because when we get down to the refined versions, they could be cutting it with other oils, a blend of things. So oils are definitely tricky, and there's a lot of controversy around them and where they're being sourced from and things like that. So unrefined, that's my tip for whatever type of oil it is you're buying.
Yeah, canola, grapeseed, sunflower. I was in an aisle not too recently, and I pick up everything and I read the ingredients. And there was somebody at the beginning of the aisle. They were selling their whatever they were promoting. You get the free samples,
Yeah,
and she turned to me and I guess she watched, and she said, "What are you looking for?" I said, "Well, it's a great question. Maybe something without seed oils, maybe something without sugar added, maybe something that's not, you know, I was being sarcastic, but I mean, everything in this aisle, there's nothing. I know you don't want to hear this, but there's just nothing there at all. And I like what you said about single source, the Evo, right? The
yeah,
extra virgin olive oil people, when they say it's from multiple countries, somebody could slip in some bad stuff there. Single source,
absolutely.
very important.
A single source. Get it from the source whenever you can. Like, trust the source that it's coming from. Um, Learn about the source that it's coming from,
Mm,
because
mm,
if you're telling me you're getting me olive oil from Turkey, Italy, other countries, I don't trust at all that something
right.
strange isn't happening. Who's blending them? How are
Mm.
they getting to the same place? I'm just not buying that.
Yeah, I'm not either. And my father's from Italy, so he would send me over there as a kid, and they don't have like gluten issues, and they don't, I mean, the Southern Mediterranean diet, there's only pasta like once a week, and it's not much. It's a lot of grains, it's a lot of fish, it's a lot of greens, it's a lot of olive oil that they press themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Very different from the kind of Italian American. Even when I go to buy pasta, you see that folic acid. There's another one.
Yep,
They like
that's
the
that's part of that enriching process. That's one of the things
terrible,
they add back in the wrong form.
terrible. When my daughter was born 25 years ago, I remember the doctor specifically saying, make sure your wife gets a lot of folic acid.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So now we're kind of promoting folate. So they're both
Ah.
B9. Folic acid and folate are both forms of B9, but our body more readily uses the folate.
Mm.
So a lot more vitamins and things now are using folate versus folic acid. It's the more active form.
Julie, where do you stand on peptides?
I'm very interested in peptides.
Me
I
too.
think I think I have a lot more to learn in the whole peptide department, but I'm certainly interested in learning more about them. I think there could be some interesting developments there. How about you?
Yes. Same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
we're pretty new at it, and there's lots of debate with the current administration in the White House and who they hired there and what we're going to do with that. And yeah, we will see. But everybody should just read themselves and make a decision and get multiple sources. And when somebody is looking to work with a dietitian, what should they look for?
So that's a great question. And
Thanks.
dietitian is definitely a key part of this. So dietitian and nutritionist are different.
Yes.
Nutritionists certainly can be qualified, but dietitians have a very specific set of qualifications. So we have a bachelor's or a master's degree in nutrition. We have to complete a certain amount of supervised interning hours before we can sit for the national exam.
Hmm.
And then we have to maintain our credentials by doing a certain amount of continuing education hours every 5-year cycle. So there is regulation around the term dietitian. We have things we have to maintain and uphold. Nutritionist might or might not have those credentials. They might have. There actually is no regulation for that word, so truthfully, anybody can
Mm,
call themselves a nutritionist. And not to take away from the ones that truly are qualified, but
sure.
that word itself doesn't have any actual um, credentials behind it.
Hmm.
And just in what you're looking for is looking for somebody that is going to help you achieve the goals that you want to achieve. There's dietitians that work in with athletes. There's dietitians that work with weight loss, with women's health, with men's health. Um, People that have had weight loss surgery. There's dietitians sort of for every specific condition that you might have. So finding
Mm.
one that seems similar to what your goals are. And then also it's about, finding somebody that kind of gels with you, somebody that you like to talk to, somebody that you have a good rapport with. So I highly encourage people to work with a dietitian though. It can just really be so helpful to analyze what you're doing currently, kind of from start to finish, from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed, and even how you sleep plays into our nutrition and our health, and kind of helping to uncover anything that might be able to make some changes to help you achieve your goals.
I didn't realize there was exams. So there's a national body, like a
Yeah,
regulator. Is it federally run or is it private?
federal. I believe it's federal. That's a good question. I believe it's federally run. The
Interesting.
American Academy of Dietetics and Nutrition.
Ah,
Yeah,
because
that
we
sounds federal.
it does sound federal, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds very government. So, but I mean, we know that there's lobbyists and everything that
Yeah.
push for laws in the federal government. I mean, does this body get? I mean, are you forced to answer things that may not be healthy, Julie?
I don't know. I mean, it's been 20 years since I
I
took that
see.
exam.
I
I
see.
have made sure to keep up with my continuing education hours because if you don't, you have to take that exam again.
Wow.
That exam was so hard, I never want to take that again.
Really?
Yes. It is like, I've never taken a bar exam or nursing boards or anything like that, but you hear how stressful and how much you prepare for those things. And I definitely did a ton of preparing before I took the national exam to
Mm.
become a registered dietitian. So I don't want to do that again. I do remember some topics of the questions, but I don't remember if any of them I agreed with or disagreed with. I also don't know the answers. They just tell you what your score is if you pass or fail. So,
Oh, is that right?
yeah. And everybody gets different questions. There's like thousands and thousands of questions you may
Wow.
get. So, yeah, you're bringing me back. You're bringing me back to some slightly unpleasant memories.
Well, let's bring it back to more pleasant. Generally speaking, I didn't realize I was uncovering some trigger there. Uh, so generally speaking, when people come to dietitians, is it primarily to lose weight or is it more to get healthy? Like what's generally their goals?
Some of everything,
Mm,
honestly. There's a lot of weight maintenance, definitely, but health is a big issue too. So I started my career over 20 years ago, as we just discussed, working in hospitals, inpatient, and I knew that's not where I wanted to end up in my career, but I think it was a really good starting point to kind of get that foundation. And when I saw those people, unfortunately they were already really sick, and I just didn't feel like I couldn't make as much of a difference there. So I'm really into the more prevention side of things, being able to spend more time with people, not just when they're acutely ill, helping to prevent that illness. And I think that's why ultra processed foods is something that I've really latched onto. It's still a relatively newer term, but I also think it's something that I've been talking about without having a term for it for a really long time. Kind of going back to what you said, I always encouraged my patients years and years ago to look at the ingredients.
Right.
Can you pronounce them? Are there things that sound like food in there? Is the ingredient list taking up the entire side of the cereal box? If it is, put that product back.
Right.
We want short ingredient lists, things you can pronounce, things you can recognize as foods. And that's the advice I've been giving for a long time. And now things have changed. We have the term ultra processed. There are some tools and tips and things that can also help make this process a little easier. I think I work for a company called GoCoco. We have an app where you can scan the barcode. It highlights anything that's an ultra processed ingredient, tells you what it is. Is it risky? Is it not risky? And again, it's just about giving people more tools that they can use to make healthier choices, giving them the information, and then they can make the choice that's best for them and their families.
Is food medicine, Julie?
Oh, absolutely. 100% yes. Yes, I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday who told me he was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and his doctor just wanted to put him on medication. And he said, it's an autoimmune disease. Why can't I solve this with food? And his doctor said, you can't do it. It's too hard. That's what he told me his doctor said. So he was very determined to prove his doctor wrong at that point. And he completely got his Crohn's disease into remission with food alone. And he went back to that doctor and said, why did you tell me I couldn't do this? And the doctor said, because I didn't think you could. I didn't think anybody could be that disciplined and do it. And yeah, food is medicine. Sometimes we need medicine. I'm not saying we don't.
Right.
We might need more than just food sometimes, but food should certainly be part of the equation. The phytochemicals and things that are in all of the different naturally colored fruits and vegetables. There's thousands and tens of thousands of phytochemicals in there that all do so many wonderful things in the body that we should truly be aiming to eat the rainbow, but a natural rainbow, not dyed, artificially colored rainbow.
Why aren't physicians asking more patients what they eat?
Time, knowledge, and I can't say I fully blame them. They have a lot that they need to learn while they're in school. Adding nutrition to it might not be feasible. Maybe a little bit more than they're learning now could be beneficial. But they also have us. They can certainly say, what are you eating? You should talk to a dietitian. So there are many dietitians that work with physicians and physicians that refer out to dietitians. But yeah, it should really be more of a part of a annual physical is talking about what you're eating, what you're not eating. I think it's getting a little better, but certainly there's still a lot of room for improvement.
I moved to I'm not far from here. Hey, Joey Pinz here. Want to take your podcast experience to the next level? I'm excited to invite you to become a YouTube member. It's the absolute best way to support the channel and enhance your connection. Join our amazing community and unlock the incredible perks, custom loyalty badges, exclusive emojis, and priority comment replies. Your voice will always stand out. Be the first to watch new videos with early access, receive special membership shoutouts, and get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and updates. Dive into content available only to our members, special videos, deep dives, and insider perspectives. Engage directly with me. Suggest podcast topics you want to hear, and even get personalized video shoutouts. Hit the join button right now and become part of something special. Let's build this amazing community together. I can't wait to welcome you as a new member. Join the Joey Pinz family today. Tampa Bay area, and I moved here about a year and a half ago, and so I've got to search for all new physicians and dentists and things. And I was doing research, and I'm just sitting there at this doctor's office. I said, he better ask me what I eat. I keep on thinking, and he did. He did. And I said, okay, all right. But so I don't know. Maybe it's changing, maybe it's not. But it something needs to happen there. How did you get into this field, Julie?
I was a bit of an athlete when I was young. I swam, I ran track. I was always active doing every sport available to me. And on top of that, when I went to college, I did not do college level sports. I did intramural level sports while I was there. And I really nobody really ever talked to me about the nutrition component, about being athletic and fueling my body, and probably could have been a little better had I known how to properly fuel my body. And I also think that's changing now too. I think young athletes get more input on nutrition, but I sort of became interested in it on my own and started sort of researching things. And I do like helping people, but I'm terrified of blood, so nursing wasn't really going to work for me. So nutrition, health, physical fitness have always been big interests of mine. Learning that you could get a career in nutrition was intriguing to me. So decided to start studying that. And I'm glad I did, because there's so many different areas and aspects of nutrition that dietitians can practice in and go into. And certainly does feel like you make a difference in people's lives when you get to watch their transformations, and not just in weight loss but in health. And I'm pretty glad with the career choice, I think, mostly.
You've convinced me. You're good at it. And so you mentioned your app that you have. How has technology, and specifically AI, has it helped nutrition and the dietitian's ability to help?
Yeah, I think technology, when used the right way, can be a very good tool. I do use AI. I'm not too worried about being replaced by AI anytime soon based on the results I see from AI. I mean, I will specifically type in, like, make me a meal plan, and put in a bunch of specifics of things I want in there, don't want in there. It'll come back and it's not great. So it's usually me checking it, fixing it. I think it's a useful tool, certainly, and it's going to improve, obviously. Great way to kind of double check what you're thinking, look things up, have it put together some, basically if you feed it the right info, it'll give you back info in a form that's very usable. I think there's certainly some benefits to, little time-saving benefits to having AI kind of assist you, but it's still like, I think the brains of it are coming from the people still in this instance. And then technology, yeah, there's so much technology out there that can help us. The fitness rings, the fitness watches, tracking your steps. Even just if you have an iPhone and you don't have one of those fitness rings or watches, you can still try to aim for 10,000 steps just by having your phone, carrying your phone around. Those things can certainly be motivating and helpful. So in many cases, I'm definitely in favor of technology helping people and helping us clinicians to be even better.
Who won't you work with, Julie? Who will you not work with?
I don't know if there's anyone I won't work with. I love a challenge.
How about if they want results tomorrow?
Well, I'll still work with them, but they're not going to get results tomorrow.
Go manage expectations.
Actually, that's not even true. They can get results tomorrow, just not full results. If I can get somebody to stop eating sugar for one day, they're going to feel better than, well, they
Yeah,
might feel
they
worse
are.
the next day. But in a couple days later, they're going to feel a ton better.
Mm.
So, there's changes you can make. You're not going to lose 20 pounds overnight, but you cut out sugar. I mean, you're going to feel a lot better really soon.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, challenge accepted. Come to me if you want
Look
results
at that.
overnight. We'll talk.
And what I found effective in when I was looking at that was just kind of journaling what you eat. When people kind of look back and saw, wow, did I eat all of that? I mean, it really kind of frames.
Yeah, and that's where apps certainly can be
Right.
beneficial as well. Um, there's so many apps out there where you can track what you're eating, taking pictures of what you're eating. One
Mm.
newer feature on GoCoco is you take a picture of any meal that you have and it analyzes it using AI to tell you the percentage of your meal that is fruits and vegetables and the percentage of it that's ultra processed.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think that's different than a lot of the other meal trackers out there
Yes.
because we're really
Yes.
focusing on the ultra processed component. You can also put in other goals you have, like do you want to know how many carbs are in there, how much sugar, calories, but really the differentiator there is it actually tells you what percentage of your meals are ultra processed. You can
Mm.
track it over time. So you can kind of set a goal and say, I'm going to get to 50% fruits and vegetables and 20% ultra processed over time. And it kind of gives you graphs and bars about how good you're doing about getting towards those goals. The technology definitely can be our friend
Yes.
in the fitness and nutrition world.
How about alcohol? Is there ones that are better than other?
I mean, I don't think like a frozen pina colada with 200 pounds of sugar in it is going to be your best choice. I mean, I think the studies that are coming out is less and less alcohol. So
Right. Right.
I'm not a all or nothing kind of person. If somebody tells me they're going to drink a little bit of alcohol here and there, I think that can certainly work its way into a healthier eating pattern. I would encourage things like red wine that at least have some resveratrol, so you're getting some kind of polyphenol in there, something healthy.
Hmm.
I would certainly steer them away from the very high sugar drinks, and I'm always going to advocate for consuming a little less and a little less of it because I think the studies are sort of pointing us that even a little is not as healthy as we
Mm.
used to think it was.
And then, of course, sugar drinks. We have to talk about coffee.
Ah, yes. We
I mean,
should
some of
definitely
those
talk about that.
Starbucks things. I mean, I've never had a cup my whole life, believe it or not, Julie. But I
No
mean,
coffee at all?
yeah, never had a
Oh.
cup. Yeah. I when I was young, I just realized this in the last 4 or 5 years, but when I was younger, my mother got off it and was really mean and for like 6 months, and I think it just kinda stuck with me. I think, well, I'm never gonna let that happen. But I've seen some of the calorie counts, like 1,500, 1,600 calories in 1 cup of this sugar dessert coffee drink.
That's
Not
an
all.
area I very often start when I'm working with people is what are you
Mm,
drinking? Because
mm,
drinks don't really make us feel full.
right.
So at least if we're eating something with sugar in it, it's signaling to the brain that we've
Hmm.
had some food. But drinking doesn't do that. We're just
Right.
sucking those sugary drinks right down. Those calories aren't even getting registered. Like you said, like some of those coffee chains make there's many, many kinds of sugar in there, not to mention all the flavorings,
Right.
colorings, the whipped cream that goes on
Yeah.
top.
Yeah.
So I'll always start with one of the first questions I ask is, what are you drinking throughout the day? And then we'll try to find a way that can you make a latte at home using coffee, whole milk if you want, cinnamon, nutmeg, pure vanilla. Like, how can we kind of recreate what you're doing at the coffee house? Not only are we going to save you a ton of money, but we're going to save you a ton of calories as well. So, I definitely work with people to try to change one thing at a time,
Mm.
potentially, um, and just kind of keep building on those changes.
People love their coffee. I'm at airports sometimes in the morning before the shops open up, and there's a long line, and they're like all Jones in. It's just amazing to me. I saw a video recently where a mother was at a drive-through and the baby's in the back. Well, the baby's like maybe 2 years old, and she orders a coffee, and the baby back there says, "Can I have a cookie?" And the mother's like, "No, no, we have cookies at home." And he says, "Well, we have coffee at home too." So she goes, "Can I have an extra cookie?" So she orders a cookie.
Smart kid.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, and kids learn from parents. So that's another thing that I work with people on is they'll tell me like, "Oh, my kid's such a picky eater." Well, so one of the first questions I ask is, "Do you eat family meals?
Right.
Do you sit down and eat dinner together? Do they see you eating healthy
Right.
foods?" Because when they're little, they're learning from what you're doing, and it can take them 20 plus times of trying a new food before they actually like it.
Mm.
And just being immersed in it and around it is one good way to get little ones to be more accepting of new foods. And I also say, like, not so much in your coffee cookie example way, but to get them involved in the decision making processes. If they're picky, let them come to the supermarket with you. Let them pick out one
That's
fruit
right.
or vegetable that they want to try. Take it home. Let them help safely prepare that fruit or vegetable, and they're going to be more willing to taste it or try it if they've had a hand in picking it out, preparing it. um, Gardens, I love gardens, growing gardens, and the time of the year that works in your climate, getting the kids involved in that, letting them eat the vegetables right off the vine. I did that when I was a kid. I do that with my nieces and nephews now. It's fun. It's more fun to eat a green bean off the vine than it is to
Yeah,
eat
it
it out of
is.
a can.
How about intermittent fasting, Julie? What do you say with that?
I think there's some research coming out there that there could be some benefits when it's done the right way.
Right.
Cell word I have a hard time saying, autophagy. So, like a 13-hour fast. I've seen some good research, preliminary research around that. So if you stop eating at 7 p.m. and then you don't eat again until 8 a.m., that's 13 hours.
Sure is.
That's not that hard to kind of find a way that that'll work for you. I think when it first kind of came out, people maybe weren't doing the best job with it. People I know were stopping eating at 9 p.m. and then basically they would just skip breakfast and then they would eat like a hoagie and chips for lunch. And I don't think intermittent fasting is going to be helping you very much
Right.
in that setting. But I think if you're kind of thinking about setting a time where you stop eating in the evening, giving your body all that time overnight to kind of do all the processes, all the healing, and then you start your day with water, and then you eat breakfast is fine as long as we've gone the 13 hours. Healthy breakfast, I think, is better than skipping breakfast and eating a super unhealthy lunch, like binging for the rest of the day. Essentially, is what I've seen people do, and that's not what I would recommend.
Yeah, I intermittent fast regularly, and we know that breakfast is breaking the fast because you're at night. That's where it comes from. But yeah, I just find that. What's your position on just calorie counting? So when people want to lose weight, I would think they'd start calorie counting, but sometimes they kind of go to extremes.
I think, again, calorie counting can be a beneficial tool. I think it's a good idea to get a baseline of where you're at. So I think that's a really good starting point is eat normal for a couple of days. Let's see how many calories that is. You
Right.
might be surprised with what it is. And then we kind of start making some changes, and cutting calories many times is going to lead to weight loss. It might not be enough on its own. We might also, certainly benefit from adding in physical activity. Those ultra processed foods, they keep pounds on you as well. So making changes to higher quality foods. I don't really subscribe to the theory of like calorie deficits don't work. No, they do. If you eat less calories, you're generally going to
Math.
lose weight. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's more to it than that, is
Right.
my point. There's more that goes into it. Like, I don't want you eating 1,500 calories of junk. Like, I want it to be 1,500 calories of quality.
Those the kind of yo-yo things aren't good, where people are losing and
Yeah,
then gaining, losing and gaining.
whole foods are much more satisfying
Yeah.
and filling and nourishing. So when we're giving our body a real whole food diet, we're going to be more likely to stick with it longer term and keep the pounds off. And that's really why Go Coco focuses so much on ultra processed foods instead of always focusing on the calories. We're more focusing on the quality.
Mm. Yeah, if I eat, 5 potato chips, I want 5 more potato chips right away. If I eat
Yes.
5 grapes, I feel pretty good. I can go on to something else.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me too, like, fruit. I shouldn't eat fruit, right? I'm like, no, you can eat fruit. But I don't recommend you eat the entire bunch of grapes. That's a
Right.
lot of sugar. So
Yes.
for me,
Sure is.
carbohydrates should be with protein. So if you eat
Mm.
grapes, having a good quality source of protein or a healthy fat with it, like have grapes and almonds or walnuts or something like that. That'll be much more filling. It helps you get more nutrients. It doesn't raise blood sugar as much when you're having your carbohydrate source with a protein or a fat. So I'm generally promoting when you have those fruits, and yes, have the fruits, please, unless you have specific medical condition, where
Mm.
we need to be careful of how much fruit we're eating. Have the fruit, but have it with a protein or a fat source.
Julie, has there been anything in the last month or so that you've changed your mind on?
Well, I think I'm very open to always learning. So I'm constantly looking for new studies and research and things that have come out. I don't know about in the last month, but I do think I was pretty anti intermittent fasting
Really?
when it first became a thing. I mean, I knew about it for like 10 plus years. And
Oh.
back then I just think people were just, I think it was people that didn't like eating breakfast already. So they were just saying, oh, I'm intermittent fasting. And then they would just eat unhealthy the whole rest of the day. But like I said, now I've been seeing some studies that it really is giving our body time to do the healing that it needs to do if we're not constantly putting food in there for it to be digesting. So that's something that I would say I've changed my mind on more so over the years. Um, in the last month, I can't think of anything I've changed my mind on, but I'm always open to read and learn and see if I can even just keep improving my knowledge, because there's always so much to learn. We're
Yes.
always learning new things. I think I saw somebody being interviewed recently, like a health expert, and they said the question was, "What percentage do you think we know about our health and our medicine
Hmm.
and things?" And my mind immediately went to 10%.
Wow.
And the host thought the answer would be like 60 or 70%, and the guest said 20%. So I think there's so much to learn still, always.
Yeah. Yeah, because the long term, we don't know a lot of these what's going to happen. So, Julia, I think you know my story. So I started my business in the 90s, was working way too hard, eating plenty of uh bad flour and high carbohydrates, drinking a lot of soda, working 14, 16-hour days. So I'm in front of the doctor and she tells me I'm up to 340 pounds. So I'd gained all this terrible weight. And she says to me, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My daughter was just born. And uh, so, pissed off at myself. I can abuse me all I want, but I have this family now and I have to be more responsible. And I'm an athlete all my life, just like yourself. And I thought I could eat everything and get away with it, but I need some activities. So I spent the next 6, 7 months, lost about 120 pounds and kept it off. So, with these things, you can't look at it as like a finishing line, right? Or
Right.
let these people kind of run through it and then go back to their old habits. But when people ask me, how did you lose the weight? What's your secret? There's no secret. I say discipline. You mentioned it before, focus, motivation, willpower, routine. I wonder how discipline plays a role in your life, Julie Rule.
I think, similarly to you, just because I'm a dietitian doesn't mean I'm magically
Mm.
healthy. I have to
Mm.
work at it every day as well. I have to plan what I'm going to eat for my meals. I have to make sure I have those foods at home so that when it's mealtime, I have something healthy to go to. It's something that I'm always thinking about. So I'm always, I joke around that as a dietitian, I'm always aware of like when my next meal is going to be, what it's going to be. I maybe think about food, every hour I'm awake because I'm talking about it every hour I'm awake. But that doesn't mean that it just is automatic. I still have to do it. There's still cookies and ice cream and things in my grocery stores, events I go to, and I have to decide every time, do I want this now or do I not want this now? Because I also I occasionally have treats and things as well, but that's what you have to do. You have to keep it occasional because a huge majority of your diet should be whole foods, fresh fruits and vegetables, lean protein, healthy fats. And yeah, I have to think about it all the time too. And I think you can set yourself up to be more successful. So like I said, I don't necessarily write myself a meal plan every week, but I think about it when I go to the grocery store. Like, what am I going to have for breakfasts? I need some healthy snacks on hand so that when I am hungry, I'm reaching for the right things. What are my dinners going to be for the week? Am I going out? Am I going to be at home? I actually am going out to dinner tonight, and I looked at the menu in advance. And
Did you really?
I'm ordering. Yes.
Wow.
So, I think for me, there's discipline involved because I think about it all the time too. And I'm making those decisions hundreds of times a day as well, like other people are.
So you looked up the menu, and do they have calorie counts? How do you decide?
They don't have calorie counts, but they have a really good sounding dish that's all seafood.
I see. Very interesting. What motivates you, Julie?
I think a lot of different things motivate me. Motivates me in my career or my personal life.
Yes.
Yes. I like many people, I want to live a long time, and I want to be healthy for a long time. I don't want to just live. I want to thrive, as cheesy as it sounds. I want to stick around, and I want to stick around healthy. I think I'm also very curious. So motivates me is wanting to learn and wanting to grow. And I think I'm motivated by helping people as well. So kind of taking what I know and sharing it with others is motivating.
No cheese there, Julie. So thrive, impact, be healthy. So given those motivators, how do you measure success?
For me in my career, I've seen people make huge transformations. And for me, if I can, so a huge one that I had, kind of a few years ago now, earlier in my career, I worked with somebody who was, severely overweight, unhealthy, had many comorbidities, diabetes, hypertension. And we worked together one-on-one, and she lost all the weight, like your story, and kept it off. And she actually decided to go back to school and become a registered dietitian so she could help other people. And for me, that is just the best sort of compliment that I could ever receive, is that she wanted to do for others what I did for her. So that, I still think about that. That still motivates me to this day.
Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pinz podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pinz merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pinz logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypinz.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pinz merch. Wear it, share it, and live it. That's so rewarding. isn't it? When you help somebody like that, even if it's whatever to whatever degree,
It is. Yeah.
gives you really, really good feeling. Well, I love what you're doing, Julie. Thank you so much for your time. So anybody listening, watching, how can they get in touch with you? How can they get the app?
Yeah, so the app is available at the iOS store, the Google Play. Um, we can actually give all of your listeners a year for free of the premium version of the app. We can put
Oh,
the
wow.
code in the show notes. It's just the website's gococo.app. You can find me there. You can find the app there, and we'll give you the code for the premium version to put in the show notes if that works.
Go Coco. GOCOCO.
Yes, it stands for conscious consumer.
Ah.
So, like, go conscious consumer,
Yes,
make
yes,
good
yes.
choices.
Very cool. And you're on TikTok. You've got, of course, just the website. It was
Mhm.
gocode.app
Yep.
and Linktree and Instagram and Facebook. I
Yes.
thank you so much for your time. Next time I'm down there in the Miami area, maybe we'll get a cup of tea and maybe I'll rent a set of roller blades.
That would be a very fun day. We'll have the tea first, we'll rollerblade, then we'll have some iced tea afterwards for some hydration.
Thank you, Julie. Be well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations.